People in a Suffolk village were evacuated from their homes this afternoon amid fears of an explosion during a fire.
Around 50 people in Mendham near Harwich were told to leave their homes after a bonfire in a garden spread, heating up a nearby gas canister.
Our reporter Tom Barton has just sent us this report via ITV Newslink from the scene.
The fire service were called here at around 2 o'clock this afternoon to a bonfire in somebody's garden which had spread and had heated up a potentially explosive acetylene cylinder. They cooled that cylinder down with water jets for around an hour, and in the meantime they went around the village and evacuated properties. At its height there was a cordon of around 150 metres. That meant the vast majority of properties in the village were evacuated. That amounted to a total of around 40 or 50 people. Those people who weren't evacuated were asked to stay inside their houses on the ground floor and towards the back of their properties. The people who were evacuated were taken to a church in the village and to a nursing home where they were kept inside and sheltered from any potential explosion. The cordon has now been taken down and people have been allowed back into their homes this evening.
Tom Barton reporting. Dozens of teenagers gathered outside Norfolk County Council this morning to protest over planned cuts to an advice service for youngsters.
What do we want? Save Connexions! When do we want it? Now!
The Connexions service provides teenagers with information on careers, housing and health, but cuts of up to 50% could see the closure of its centres in Norfolk and the loss of 50 jobs. It's all part of a £10 million package of savings agreed by councillors this morning, subject to further consultation with unions.
Last month, over 3,000 people came into a connection centre and used it. With no connection centres around, those people will not be able to get advice and guidance as readily as they have been able to at the moment. We understand there's got to be cuts, but rethink and think about the young people who need our help.
A social club in Colchester has been destroyed by fire. More than 40 firefighters from across Essex were called to the Old Officers' Club on the former garrison site just after 11 last night. It took nearly 4 hours to bring the fire under control. Crews were still at the site today, damping down, and investigations begun to find out just how it started.
A group of dockers based at Harwich Port had to stage 2 24-hour strikes in a row over pay and conditions. Members of the Rail, Maritime and Transport Union at the port will walk out at 6 o'clock on Thursday night. They'll also stop working overtime in the hours leading up to the action. The union claims it will hit services to Holland and Denmark, as well as cruise ships. Let's have some sport now, shall we? And the eyes of the Speedway world will be focused on Kings Lynn in Norfolk tonight. That's right, because the town is staging the British heat of the Speedway World Cup, with 4 teams bidding for a place in Saturday's final in Denmark. Donovan Blake has more.
Kings Lynn has hosted its fair share of world-class Speedway riders over the years, but it's been a while since they've had so many at the same time. Stars from Australia, Finland, Sweden and Great Britain will grace the track as the Norfolk Arena makes its World Cup debut.
It's a tribute to Buster and his team, you know, that the improvements that they've made over the years here to stage such a prestigious meeting.
Some of the riders used to race here for the Kings Lynn Club, including Sweden's Daniel Nermark and Australia's Darcy Ward. But will their knowledge of a track count for much?
It's a different meeting compared to the normal meeting, so the track can be different, but I definitely know the shape and what it can do.
It's a brilliant racetrack and I think one of the better ones in the country, so hopefully we'll be entertained some brilliant racing, but also more importantly an England win.
And the unmistakable noise of the bikes will be accompanied by a different sound. We have the Vuvuzela in football's World Cup. In Speedway's World Cup, we have the air horn. A case of a lucky few being able to watch this afternoon's practice session, but officials are expecting around 6,000 fans to be crammed inside the stadium by the time the engines start in over an hour's time. Donovan Blake, Anglia News, Kings Lynn.
Imagine sitting beside one of those big foghorn type things.
Very noisy. Noisier than motorbikes.
Yeah. Now, horse racing. Newmarket trainer Sir Michael Stout is celebrating another big race victory on the flat, but not with Derby winner Workforce. The 3-year-old colt was the hot favourite to win the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Stakes at Ascot on Saturday, but he was upstaged by his stablemate Harbinger, who surged to victory under the French jockey Olivier Pellier, winning by 11 lengths. He's now being considered for the French classic Le Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe in October.
Essex cricketer Ravi Bopara has missed out on an England recall for the Test series with Pakistan, but his omission means he's available for the county's big 2020 Cup game with Lancashire tomorrow. Bopara hit 2 centuries in last week's county championship match with Yorkshire and looked a strong contender to replace Middlesex Owen Morgan for the first Test, but Morgan has kept his place, as has Bopara's county colleague Alistair Cook.
A charity project in Essex made it through to the finals of the National Lottery Awards. Little Haven's Children's Hospice in Thundersley was funded by lottery money. Now it's among 21 projects shortlisted for the awards, which recognise the difference local projects have made to the community. Next, the mystery of a young man who died after falling through the glass roof of a shopping centre in Bedford.
The man plunged through the roof at the back of a building off Harper Street on Saturday afternoon. Since then, police have been trying to identify him and piece together how it happened. Martin Stew reports.
Except for this wooden panel, everything's back to normal at the arcade in Bedford. But over the weekend, the area was closed and shops evacuated after a man fell through this glass roof 30 foot to his death.
At 4:45 on Saturday, the man left Marks and Spencer's being followed by a security guard who thought he'd stolen something, and he sprinted his way down that alleyway.
In this CCTV footage obtained exclusively by Anglia News, you can see the man run down the alley and up some stairs, followed by the security guard.
Still being followed by the security guard, he made his way along this fire escape and onto this bit of flat roof just here. He sprinted across this and went up those metal stairs towards the pitch roof.
From there, it's thought he slipped onto the Victorian glass panel, which gave way.
But this glass just smashed down, and this blue blur fell down, and it was actually a person, and he hit the ground with such force. It was quite horrific.
Abigail Griffiths works at Warboys and saw the whole incident. She says it could have been much worse.
Incredibly lucky. I mean, there's normally about, on a Saturday, between 100 and 200 people, like in shops and about, and opposite we have a sweet shop, so it could have been a child or anything out there, and we normally have a good 2 people outside the window, so it's incredibly lucky.
Emma Bow and Gemma Watson saw the fall from the travel agents where they work.
We were in the shop working as normal, and then all of a sudden there was a massive crash when the glass fell down off the arcade. There was a person on the floor, and then my colleague was getting everybody who was like distressed inside the shop, and I was ringing for an ambulance.
My colleague was on the phone to the ambulance at the time, and we ran out to see if he was conscious. But by this time, a doctor was walking past, and he was working on him. But I could tell he wasn't good. There was blood coming from his nose and all sorts. So.
A shocking end to an afternoon shopping, and a tragic end to a young man's life. Martin Stew, Anglia News, Bedford.
You're watching Anglia Tonight. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Now we're just past the halfway stage of our big summer project, the Anglia allotment, which has been looking at a wide variety of subjects.